Welcome to Fear No Evil. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. As well as, He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. He anoints my head with oil, my cup runneth over. And the evil that I'm speaking about today is pedophilia. Now, we know that Roy Moore lost the election. Christians decided they did not want an alleged pedophile to represent them. And that's fine. However, I hope that they also understand the game that was played on them, because there's a lot of information out there that many children who are in music and in the entertainment industry are sexually abused on a daily basis. So these women who are going against Harvey Weinstein, they very well know that children have been sexually abused, but they're not speaking up for them. They're speaking up for themselves. And just like the person that accused Roy Moore, the statute of limitations apparently in their state, if you've been sexually abused under the age of 16, you can bring these charges or allegations to court. However, she chose not to. She chose to put it in the public arena. So it makes me question her, why she did it that way. And if she truly is a sexual abuse survivor, and no one in her support system has encouraged her to bring these to court, then what they really did was exploit a sexual abuse victim who's still confused about the abuse. And they used her and weaponized the allegations of child sexual abuse to get what they want. That's no different than a pedophile. They will exploit children to get sexual gratification. The gratification of all these women coming out may not be sexual, but it is definitely narcissistic. Because they're not trying to help other women. They're not trying to help children. And all these actresses and actors also know that in the music industry and in the entertainment industry, children are sexually abused on a daily basis, yet they say nothing. And the most famous alleged pedophile of all was Michael Jackson. But if you actually go back and listen to his songs, at the time, his behavior seemed very erratic. By the way, he also alleges that he was sexually abused as a child as well. And you can see it in his videos. You can see it in his behavior. You can see it. And he also tried to warn us and tell us. But now that he's gone and passed from this earth, you can look back at those videos. They don't care about us. You can look back at his videos and you can see that he's trying to tell people something. But we weren't just paying attention. And he lost everything over the allegations, and he even lost his own life over trying to tell everybody what was going on. These women didn't lose anything. Not a thing. So I would have voted for Roy Moore because I believe that these allegations need to be in the courtroom. You need to try them in the courtroom. And if she had the avenue to do that, that's where she should have went with it. Not allow herself to be exploited again by powerful people for their own gratification. Wow. Talk about mocking. And when I say mocking, I mean portraying the same traits that a sexual predator portrays on his own victims. Now, just because you've been sexually abused doesn't mean that you will go on to sexually abuse other kids. But just because you've been sexually abused, it also means you can go on to sexually abuse kids. But not all men who sexually abuse children are pedophiles. There is research that suggests that a pedophile can molest up to 120 children before they're even caught. Now, I know that my perpetrator never went to jail. And I'm sure there are a lot of perpetrators out there who don't go to jail. And there are a lot of sexual abuse victims who never report it and who never say anything. And even if you've been convicted of pedophilia or child molestation, and it's even in your background, the research also shows that males are less likely to report than females. And the research also shows that many people will not report their abuse. They will leave this earth with that secret. It doesn't need to be a secret. And survivors don't need to be ashamed. You didn't cause the abuse. You didn't cause the manifestations. You didn't cause the mess. Somebody else did. And the fact that you even have the courage to clean up the mess, you're the hero. Because you're the ones that are going with no, you're not on TV, you're not in the courtroom, you're not getting any compensation for your sorrow and your grief. You just have to pick up the pieces and go on with your life. And we need sexual abuse survivors to go on with their lives. Because what is taken from them, it is so hard to get it restored back into your life. As a Christian, I do believe that God can restore it, but that's for another video. I'm also very well aware that many sexual abuse survivors do not believe in God, and I can understand why they don't. So I try to be sensitive to the fact that many sexual abuse survivors are very angry at the concept of a God that is all powerful, but allows child sexual abuse to go on. And so sometimes I find myself in that place. Why do you allow people to lie about this and use child sexual abuse as a weapon for their own political gratification and gain? Child sexual abuse survivors go through enough. They don't need to be exploited by the political community, and they certainly don't need to be exploited by the LGBT. Unfortunately, in our society, we are unable to determine who's going to be a pedophile, who's going to be a child molester, and who's not going to be. But I would suggest that we start looking into the histories of people and asking people, have you ever been a victim of sexual abuse as a child? A society can't even start there. And when you do try to start there, our psychiatrists mix it all up, mess it all up, because you can't even hint to a child. They have to be able to come out themselves and say it. You can't suggest it to them. But if they come out and say it, you need to go somewhere with that. And in our society, we don't. We like to cover it up. And most people who do abuse children don't admit it. So most people who confront their perpetrators, they're never going to get an "I'm sorry." They're never going to get "I did it." For the most part, the allegations are denied once again. And most people who confront their perpetrators are those who cannot bring a court case because the statute of limitations has passed. So I'm glad in many ways that Roy Moore didn't win, although I would have voted for him. Because Christians didn't want an alleged pedophile to represent them. But I'm so glad that on the other side, they got a whole bunch of pedophiles who are still representing them. And they use this situation for their own political gain. But now that you've opened up the door, you've opened up a gate, and the flood is about to happen. And this society will grapple with child sexual abuse because you're not doing it right now. You're harming people, and it's about time that the harm done to children on a daily basis in this country, who's number 5 on the list of the most allegations of child sexual abuse, needs to stop. And I will speak out. And I don't care if the LGBT calls it hate speech. I don't care who calls it hate speech. Because there are children being abused. And I don't speak out for my own gratification. I speak out for those children who don't have a voice.